Hello, welcome back to Advancing Spark. I'm not going to talk about the monthly updates just yet. We'll get to it, there's a video coming, don't worry. But I've been out and about on my various travels talking about Databricks, about Spark, about AI and analytics and all of that good stuff. And this week, I was at the Gartner Analytics Summit in London. For once, I was in London. Ah, lovely. Now, as always with Gartner, it's always an interesting one because it's all very high level, very strategic, very helping you position things as an exec coming in, trying to figure out your entire company's strategy. So it's always interesting to hear about what they think is the biggest new thing, what the new trends are, what I'm going to be talking about in the hype curve when I'm talking to people later this year. So I thought it'd be quite an interesting one to just take a moment and recap some of the main themes and things I heard about at Gartner this week, and just give you a bit of a heads up. By the way, here are the terms you're going to be hearing so much about towards the end of the year. So, for example, last year, one of the key headliners about data products. Everyone always talks constantly about data products now. This is kind of the same kind of thing. And then we're talking about now, you're going to be hearing more and more and more about as the year goes on. So there's a few terms I want to run through. As always, if you're new around here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hang around, I'll be making more videos. I'm just really busy right now. Chill, fine. Right, so what are the key things? Well, there's obviously lots about AI. There's so much going on with AI right now. It'd be remiss for half the conference not to be about AI. But there's a few specific things in AI that's worth touching on. There's a lot on governance. Governance is cool again. Because AI need well-documented data, suddenly everyone's like, oh, we should have well-documented data. It didn't matter when it was humans trying to read it, but now when AI wants to read it, yeah, it's now cooler now to actually do data governance. So we should talk about that a bit. There's also a lot around the idea of the CDAO, the CDAO. Basically, the Chief Data and Analytics Officer, or the Chief Data and AI Officer, depending on who you're speaking to. And there's lots of focus on that role, that emerging role, what it means, what you need to do, how you get good at it, all of that stuff. So I guess we'll talk around those three main areas, a bit around AI, a bit around governance, and a bit around the idea of the CDAO and kind of what that role is, how people are successful. And I guess it's always interesting to go and, based on what we think in terms of how advancing analytics work versus what Gartner are telling people, and some of it aligns, some of it really doesn't align. So yeah, let's just have a talk about it. So first, well, the first is actually the two together. It is about the governance of AI, or rather how you enable AI through data governance. Now, yes, there's the obvious one everyone's banged on about going, yes, do your data documentation. If data discovery helps a human find data, data discovery helps AI use the right data, or at least make the right decisions based on that data. But there's an interesting point that comes out of it, and it's a term I have heard multiple times over the past few weeks. I wasn't at all surprised to see it emblazoned all over a lot of the Gartner sessions, and that is AI-ready data. Now, that is nuanced compared to good quality data. So AI-ready data, what does that actually mean? Now, the message behind it is really that data doesn't have to be perfect to still be useful. And in fact, the things that we had when we're doing traditional data quality, I might say, here's all the quality metrics for this table. I might say, you know, this column's not allowed to have nulls. Value has to be between these two things. The distribution of categories in this column has to follow a certain trend, however detailed you want to get. And we take the whole table and we measure it. And the people who are fairly mature in the data quality curve will be talking about things, trying to put a single number on it. How good is your data? 92.3. Trying to give a quantitative score. So if someone's searching around looking for what data to use, they can go, should I trust this data? Yeah, that's pretty clean. Now that's interesting, right? Clean. Clean equals trust. Well, it shouldn't necessarily. It means it is clean. It has had quality rules applied. So AI-ready data, that term is going more towards, is it good enough for the use case I want to put it to? Subtly different. Is it 100%? No. Do I need it to be 100%? No. Now, that idea was still existed in what we were doing before. If I said 92.3 was my quality score, I look at that, I make a call going, oh, that's fine. I need like 70%. I'm doing huge data forecasting. I just need loosely accurate data, and then it can do some trend analysis. Or like semantic scores. Anytime you put something into AI and go, just not semantics, sentiment. Anytime I'm going, is this person happy? Is this person sad? It's never particularly great at getting the edge cases of sarcasm and irony and that kind of thing. But generally, give me a binary, good response, bad response. That's enough to do general trend analysis and sort things into buckets. I don't need to know, is this record yes or no? I need to know the overall trend for this data. I can get away with lower quality data, less accurate data. So AI Ready is trying to give that idea going, doesn't matter the whole 100% table, but what I am trying to do, is it good enough for me? And there's a whole thing of like, yes, we've been saying to people for ages going, if you want to really accelerate, really be smashing ahead in AI, you need a good data foundation in there. Kind of questioning going, if you wait until you've got a full platform in there before you do any of the competitive edge use cases, maybe you're going to be too late. Maybe you don't have the luxury of waiting. Maybe by the time you've got your entire data platform built and ready and documented and quality scored, well, actually, you've missed your competitive edge and your competitors have got there first. So AI Ready Data is saying that kind of thing. It's saying, well, actually, appropriately ready, appropriately good, good enough for what I need it to do. Now, how do you take the idea of governance and data quality scoring and things which are honestly quite renowned for being fairly slow, fairly process-driven? It's a thankless task of going and measuring the quality of data and turn it into something that is actually enabling innovation. That is a little framework, a hotbed for making things go faster. Now, that's kind of where they're going. There are terms I didn't gel with coming from Gartner, but on the background of this, trying to push towards that idea of saying, how do you support AI-ready data, was actually another underlying thing saying trust-based governance. So building data governance that isn't just a, no, you're not allowed to use this, no, you're restricted. Absolutely. We all know that like very active, restrictive governance isn't the way to build a good data democracy. But also the flat definition, the lack of nuance in governance also doesn't work if it's a, this is 92%. I don't know what you're using it for, it's just 92%. But how do you convey that idea of trust? And actually, this is something we did a decade ago in the world of data governance, in that we used to have ideas of things like provenance. So where does this data come from? Does this come from a trustworthy source? Now, way before the medallion architecture, we used to have that as bronze, silver, gold. So we'd say, well, actually, this is from a gold source. This is from a managed company. It's from our application server. We know where it's coming from. This is very trusted data. Silver is like, well, this is business owned, but it goes through some checks and balances. Bronze is, oh, we just found it in a spreadsheet somewhere. Let's just slap it in and see if it's any use, right? It's giving things a score based on where the data came from. Now, that data may have gone through some rigorous ETL engineering. It might be clean and pristine and perfect for what it is, but it doesn't mean the actual data is trustworthy. So we always had this idea of a different dimension. You've got the cleanliness and curation of your data, but you've also got your provenance going, that's nice, but can you trust it? Where did it come from? So it's not a new concept, but actually building things that actually have this baked into it and gives a better, more nuanced approach to things. And people can take a look and go, one, is this AI ready? Is it ready enough for what I need it for? But also, two, how much can I trust it? And there's a lot of building out of that kind of the trust pervasive through the tech stack that Gartner are pushing at. Now, the term I really didn't gel with was they were saying they should move from a tech stack to a trust stack. Yeah, a little part of me died inside at that term. Yeah, no, don't like it at all. But pervasive trust-based governance, absolutely. This is something we should be doing. How do we instill that idea of the data is this clean, but it is not trustworthy? How do we make that really clear, really obvious, so people are rummaging around looking for the right data, even if it's an agent rummaging around looking for the right data? How do we make that very transparent, very usable, so it's not a massive choice? It's a, yeah, that's the most appropriate for me. It's because it's the one I can trust, or it's the only one that's got the data, and you take it with a pinch of salt. It's not trustworthy. Yeah, really good themes around it. As to how you do it, what the best implementation is, there's a lot of nuance behind it. There's a lot of thinking behind it. But yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, so pervasive trust-based governance and the idea of AI readiness was one big theme. Another theme was obviously AI everywhere. And talking about what the future holds. Talking about what the future of analytics is with Gen AI. Talking about what the future of traditional dashboarding is with Gen AI. Talking about the future of data engineering with Gen AI. Obviously, that is what is on everyone's mind. The industry is having massive shockwaves as people go, do we need that many data engineers? Do we need that many analytics people? Now, currently, the answer is yes. You need to be using AI to augment these people to drive more value and get ahead of things. If you're at the point when you have all of the analytics and engineering you possibly need, and you just need to put it into maintenance mode, sure. There is not a company who is in that state. But yeah, it's one of the big problems, actually. We talk to loads of companies, and they're going, right, what can we do with Gen AI? And they nearly always look at the external facing. They nearly always look at the kind of, if it's an internal use case, oh, it's just the low code accelerators. Sure, we'll get Copilot, we'll do some meeting summaries. Those tools are fantastic for improving the efficiency of people, but it's not that imaginative, not like game-changing in improving your internal efficiency. Whereas as soon as we turn the lens to the outside and say, what am I offering to my customers? It nearly swirls entirely away, and we only look at the big, crunchy, complex things. So it's interesting, the idea of what kind of AI are we using and what kind of problems are we trying to solve with it. So the big conversation we're having around agents, and people are going, everyone wants to build an agent now. Agentic workflows is all of what we're doing. Huge amounts of that happening in, customer client management, in call centers, all that kind of stuff. We tend to be looking at low-skilled work that is client-facing and going, let's automate that. Let's just try and look at the bulk problems. Let's just try and actually reduce headcount. And obviously, that's always a horrible conversation to be having. Big companies are having to look at it to reduce costs. It's the industry and environment we're in. But it's an interesting one. Because actually, when you take that lens and you turn it internally, to some of your most expensive people, rather than saying, well, what about all the people actually that are kind of, we have fairly high volumes of, fairly high levels of staff because we're trying to do call centers kind of things. What about the people like our engineers, like our technical people, our highly skilled tech people? Can't we do more than just give them a Copilot? Looking at agents to automate the stuff that people like me do. Sat there as an engineer. I've talked about this in the past. There's things engineers do that is just essentially the grunt work that we need to do because it's just part of the job. We just accept, oh yeah, of course I've got to do that. It's part of the job. Cleaning data in a table, automate, like writing a load of scripts to scrape metadata, taking all my metadata, putting it through validation. So many of that stuff, yes, you can build scripts and traditional automation for, but so much more of it, you just build an agent to do it. Just build an agent on top of what you're currently doing. Look at what you do currently. Think about, oh God, what's the menial task you just have to do, but you just have to do it. It's part of the job. And go, can I not just automate that? As ever with automation, if automating it takes longer than actually doing it, don't bother. But the kind of things where every time we onboard a new data system, we're going to load hundreds of tables. We're going to clean hundreds of tables. We're going to then figure out all the documentation and the data governance for them. Then we can actually use it to do something business value. We can actually go and drive some actual value from it. So much of that we can automate, but that's not what people are talking about. People aren't talking about that as the real target for what we can do with agents. And that is a missed opportunity. Don't just look external. Look internally and say, what are the game changers? What are the big things we can do to make our really high valued people, our highly skilled people, give them more time, allow them to do more, accelerate what we're doing. No one says, yeah, I want less analytics. I'd like less data made available to the rest of the business. That's not a thing people say. So just accelerating the output of your already good teams is such a high opportunity. But people don't look at it like that. People go, no, we just need to save money. We look at costs. We look at reducing headcount. We look at reducing the amount we're spending on things, not taking your existing people and just doubling, tripling the amount that they can get done. Huge, huge difference. And then, yeah, obviously tons more in the AI world, but we don't have time to go into that. Final piece I want to talk about is this whole CDAO role. essentially the new wave of chief data officers. So either chief data analytics officer or chief data AI officer. AI is always an interesting one. There's always a bun fight going, who owns this? Is it the CDO who owns AI? Is it the CIO who owns AI? Is it the CTO who owns AI? Everyone kind of wants to be responsible for the cool, trendy, hip new tech until it actually gets into production and someone has to seriously look after it, in which case that's someone else's problem. But yeah, there's lots of talks at Gartner about, so you're a new CDO, what do? You're a new CDAO. What should you be looking at? What should your first activities be? How to get ahead as a CDAO? How to be powerful as a CDAO? And that's an interesting idea. Like all of the content that I saw was kind of saying, so you're new in role, right? You're pretty new to this. This is how to be an executive. It's a really interesting thing to sit there, go, right, what advice are you giving to people? If someone's new in role, they've just joined a company, what's their 30, 60, 90-day plan? How do they show value? How do they just make a splash and actually do that kind of thing? And nearly all of the content like aimed at that CDAO was like, well, this is personal brand. This is how to inspire trust. This is how to have a good reputation. This is how to influence your peers in the exec committee. It's almost like my first exec role briefing, which is, I mean, honestly, probably fairly relevant, right? Lots of people in those roles are moving up from your heads of data, heads of analytics, heads of data functions into the realms of C-suite executives and trying to figure out how they actually make it work. But it's interesting that it's more like a personal job confidence building thing than no, this is what a good, successful CDAO has achieved. This is what metrics you can put by to go, tick, I have made a success of this. And that's interesting. One of the big things that we're working with a bunch of our clients with currently is how to change the perception of data teams. Now, this isn't something that they really went into in Gartner, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't go into it as much. Now, obviously, they can only go into so much in the conference and all that research and all that other stuff. But for us, there's a real onus currently on shifting perception of what a data team is. So if you've got a data analytics and AI team, whether that's one team or separate teams, whatever it happens to be, there's an idea with AI these days, not historically, not since we used to call it data science, since we've rebranded and made it cool and sexy by calling it AI, we tend to talk about it as something that drives revenue. Every single time there's a new AI use case, it's how much money does it save us? How much money do we make? It is looked through that critical lens of going, what's the ROI? Before anyone implements a new AI project, these days, it's great. People say, what's the ROI? Because they're kind of being burned. Years ago, everyone over-invested in data scientists, built a load of ML models, they never got into production, and then went, well, what's the point? Now we're in the second wave of hype, and everyone wants Gen AI, but people have gotten wise to it and going, where's the value? Now, the problem is we always look at this on an individual level. We look at this as use case by use case. Is that worth building? Sure, there's a ROI. Let's build it. Is that worth building? Let's build it. Now, what we never do is take a stand back and say, can we take a look at the whole of our data ecosystem and stop thinking about it as a cost? It's a thankless overhead. Oh, I've got to pay my data warehouse tax. Put some coins in the box so Spark can keep running. But I'm not looking at it as this makes me a load of money or saves me a load of money. I'm looking at it as a necessary evil. It's a cost center. But it shouldn't be. Because every time we define an AI project, we go, well, I'm going to make this much money. This is going to uplift products by 3%, and that has a net so many million incremental increase in revenue. We're going to save this amount of money. All of that value thinking we do around AI. With the wave of thinking around data products, we do it about new data models that we build. Essentially, every new data initiative, as we have finally managed to modernize and mature as an industry, we actually talk about value discreetly. But we never take a stand back and go, Sam, as a data function, our overall headcount, our overall cost is this amount, but the net incremental revenue we've gained or that we've saved is this amount. Therefore, we're a revenue center. We're making money for the business. And that, I find it so surprising that wasn't a big part of like the Gartner, so you're new to a CDAO pitch. It wasn't the big thing going, what you should do, speak to all the execs that you work with, find out their pain points in the first 30 days, get a handle on what your internal ecosystem looks like. Don't try and fix that in your first year because you're going to fail. That was a point in one of the Gartner ones. They tend to see it's between 18 and 36 months it takes to fix all the legacy stuff. But if you essentially work out what all the use cases you could feasibly, realistically deliver, what amount of your data is AI ready, is fit for purpose now without a huge amount of work, plan out a roadmap for 12 months in terms of, here's the value. This is the actual net value we can deliver as a data function. Hopefully that outweighs the overall costs of your organization. If it doesn't, you need to find more use cases and more value. But imagine that, if like a new enroll, you take a step back, it's been treated as a cost function for so long, you go around, search around all the stuff, you come back within your first 60, 90 days, and you put a business case down going, cool, this is how much revenue is going to be driven by the data function. We're going to make this much extra cash. And you know what? We're going to have to take that much out to reinvest in the data platform because it does need modernizing because we've got legacy problems, whatever it happens to be. Rather than starting and going, yeah, we're not going to really see anything for the next 2 years because we need to fix all this stuff. It's just such a different mindset shift. And yet we don't really see people approaching the problem like that. Treat it like a business. Make a business case. Generate revenue. You got to make money if you're a business. Treat it like a P&L. And that was surprising to me. I was surprised that wasn't one of the key messages in the CDAO. Now, it might have been buried in the value cases and the make good exec relationships and all of those things. But for me, it's a far more fundamental aspect of it. But yeah, interesting. Definitely lots of stuff going on at Gartner this week. So yeah, for me, they're the main topics people were talking about. AI-ready data enabled by trust-based governance. Huge piece. Different ways of thinking. Generally follows the shift that we've seen. As of 2-3 years ago, everyone is suddenly really, really conscious about data governance. I guess now we've gotten over the tech hump that was lake houses and moving away from traditional warehouses and legacy tech into lakes. Governance relaxed to let us go mad and build a load of stuff. And now it's like, well, yeah, we need some controls. Mesh made governance a big concern again. Even if you're not a big fan of data mesh, pervasive governance across federated analytics has to be a thing that you care about. Obviously, AI everywhere, agentic workflows everywhere, but thinking about how you should be angling it, where's the right place for your company is a huge piece that people are kind of neglecting. And yeah, finally, the CDAO, what they should be doing, how they should focus, and how they should retool how they're thinking and communicating to the business to focus around the value that they bring, rather than treat themselves and their people like cost. Huge things to think about. So yeah, if you were at Gartner and you came and said hello, it was always good. I always do love wandering around these events and catching up with so many different people. And yeah, if you ever see me at an event and you want to pick my brain about these things, always happy to chat. We will be back next week with our normal, regular, scheduled updates around Databricks, digging some features, looking at a lot of stuff. And do not forget, in just a few weeks, we'll be over at the Data AI Summit in San Fran. We'll have a whole advancing analytics booth. So very exciting. Come and say hello when you're there. Yeah, that's about it. Till next time, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.